Okay, so I've never tried to do a YouTube video, but we will give this a go. All right, so hey everybody, this is Lakia. I feel like I have probably talked and talked and talked and said everything that I had to say about my experience as being a CASA. Um, but for the sake of the project, I will share it again. So anyway, so CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, okay? And so, what that means is that we are appointed by the judge on a case where there is a child or children involved that definitely need special attention. The case might have medical. I lost my train of thought. There might be allegations of abuse, neglect, medical neglect, education, like what have you. There's a reason why CASA is on a case and why the judge has appointed us. And so CASA actually started back in 1977. Yeah, 1976. A judge actually came up with the idea of starting CASA. It's a male judge. I know a lot of things or positions that are like service and around that involve caring and nurturing. A lot of times we see females in those roles, but in fact, in this particular case, it's a male judge that actually got CASA started. And the reason why he started it was because there was a 3-year-old child that came into his courtroom, and he felt like he just did not have sufficient enough evidence to make a ruling on that child's case, on that child's behalf. So lo and behold, CASA was born. And if you hear my dog in the background, I do apologize. So I've already told you what CASA stands for. Some of the things that we do as a CASA, like we'll gather information, we'll interview the parents or caregivers, or we'll interview the child, the grandparents, like anybody that's a part of the case. We'll interview them. We'll make sure that they have a clear understanding of what's going on, that they have a clear understanding of who we are, where our role is, and that we're not the enemy. We're here to help them. We're here to help the child, first and foremost. And that our findings and things like that, like we report it back to the judge. So like I said, we gather information, we do interviews, we do home visits. Every 30 days, CASA goes out, at a minimum, every 30 days, CASA goes out and we will interact with our child in one way, shape, or form. We are the constant face for that child. We are the constant person in that child's life. A lot of the times with cases, a child might have this case manager in the beginning and then another case manager, a couple of weeks later, and they might have this lawyer and this GAL, and you constantly have different faces and constantly different hands and moving parts with a case. And so with CASA, we are that constant face for that child. Because regardless of the child's age, it's scary. Whether they're young and they really don't know what's going on, why they've been put in foster care, or why they can't see mama or papa or mom or dad or whoever. They might be feeling guilty that this is my fault, or maybe I shouldn't have done this, or so we're that sounding board for that child. We're their friend. We're in their corner, building them up and just encouraging them and being their voice. Like if a child is in state's custody and they wish to, maybe they're in state's custody and they haven't been able to have phone conversations with a relative or somebody that they're really close to, that they're used to seeing on a regular basis, CASA can go in and say, hey, little Johnny really wants to talk to his older brother, Mike, or whoever. It'll help the child during this time to be able to have that bond and have that relationship and that familiarity. And so that's just one of the things that we do as far as like advocating for the child. So we also appear in court. Anytime I go to court, I do get a little nervous because I'm like, Lord, what are they going to ask me? But it's all good. We prepare for our cases. Our staff help us prepare for the cases. We do our court reports. We do monthly volunteer reports to constantly keep the case updated. So that way, if we ever get called to testify, or we ever need to witness or vouch for anything, we've made sure like all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. And so that's one thing that's huge. Another thing that I thought was really fascinating about CASA is that CASA can recommend services, not only for, the child, but we can say, hey, there's this service out there that mom might really enjoy, or dad might really enjoy, or, let's try to get these services in the home to build the relationship between a mom and her estranged children, or what have you. And so that means that, to me, in my opinion, that means that I need to have an understanding of what is available in my community, what all service providers are out, which is something that is huge, especially if you're going into the field of social work. Like, you need to know what is out there in your community, whether it's parenting classes or A&D classes, or maybe the child has some kind of special needs, and where can she or he or whoever go to get the child those needs. And it's not just CASA having to come up with that information. It's every member of the team, the child and family service team. So there's like the lawyers, there's the caseworkers, there's the GAL, mom and dad or grandparents or whoever's in that child's life are all moving parts of the CFT, the child and family team. Let's see, what else do I want to add? A lot of times people are interested in being a CASA and they are not quite sure what all it entails, how long it's going to take, and things like that. So, like I said, you're asked to do at least one minimum visit with your child a month minimum. And so right now with the COVID-19, our visitations are extremely limited. So we have to be creative and do like Zoom meetings with our kids, doing drive-bys to let them know, hey, even though I may not be like front and center in your face right now, just know that I am still here. Especially while they're, because they're kids, they are trying to figure out like what is going on. And then the COVID on top of it adds that extra confusion. And so, like I said, just even doing the Zoom calls, or doing drive-bys with your kids, or doing little care packages, or what have you, just letting them know that, you're still in their corner, and that you still are their sounding board. You still are that familiarity for them, is huge. Let's see. What else? So cases can be like open and shut cases. Cases can take up to a year. They can take up to 6 months. Each case is different, according to whatever the recommendations are, according to the parents or guardians doing whatever has been requested of them to do by the judge. Or whatever the judge has signed off on. Like if DCS has made these recommendations and the judge says, yes, I agree, then making sure that those recommendations are done, and then, we can resume life, I guess you could say, if that makes sense. Let's see. So the only requirements for being a CASA is that you will have to do a background check, obviously, because you'll be working with kids. You have to be 21 years or older. There is a 30-hour service learning, which is huge, because for me, I thought there's no way that I'm just get ready to, just go out there, sink or swim, and try to figure it out on my own. No, there is training involved. And then the CASA staff, like the volunteer coordinator, those people that are actually the overseers, that have that relationship like this with the judge knows like on a name by name basis, because obviously there's new CASAs coming in constantly. They will go out with you and they will hold your hand every step of the way until you feel like, okay, I'm comfortable, I can do this on my own. Like for me, whenever I take a case in the beginning, like I know somebody has to go with me. Like I need you, especially if they've already gone out and they've already made that connection with the family. I need you to go with me and let the family know who I am, and I'll let them know who I am, and that you're turning the case over to me. Not just a random person showing up on their door, saying, hey, I'm taking over the case, what have you. Like I need you to help me bridge that connection. And so anytime you have to do home visits, or you're taking initial case, or if there's something that you're not comfortable with, I'm very thankful for the staff that they, like I said, they hold your hand, they go with you, they make sure you're comfortable, and they're just there for support for staff as well. So if there's like something that, I feel like is going on in my case that I need somebody to talk to, then I can talk to my staff or the one that signed off on the case, and just, bounce some ideas off of them, say, hey, this is going on, this is what I'm thinking, blah, blah, blah. What do I need to do in this situation? Like, it's not like, you've been trained and we throw you out to the wolves. No, they are right there. They are very constant and consistent, support. Let's see, staying on a case until it opens and closes. Let's see. Another thing, like a lot of people will ask me, like, gosh, that's a lot of work for you to do and you not get paid. Like, I am so okay with not getting paid because I'm doing something that I love. Like, I'm advocating for kids. I'm being a light. I'm being a voice. I would rather have someone who wants to be on my case and wants to volunteer versus someone who only shows up in concern for a paycheck. Like, they're just there for the paycheck and they don't really care what's going on in my case. Not to say that everybody's like that, but that's just like my thinking behind it. It's just my personal thinking behind it. But yeah, so like I'm totally fine with not getting paid, but there's incentives and things like that they do for volunteers. Like they'll throw a taco party, or helping with mileage, or a game night or something, to just let volunteers know that they are appreciated and that they are making a difference. Let's see. Another thing, excuse me, another thing that is huge for me, is my big thing about being a CASA or a citizen, period, being a member of the community, is if you see something, say something. I grew up in a time where, and it's pretty much like this today, where you mind your own business. You don't get in other people's business. It's rude, it's disrespectful, it's not your business. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of times people see things and they just turn the other way. Like, don't do that. You speaking up can make all the difference in the world in a child's life. We see these things happening on the news, especially with this COVID-19. We see things and we hear things, and kids, and not just kids, people are stuck in their home with their abusers, not being able to get out. Kids are stuck at home, not necessarily having the resources to go out and eat, which thankfully, we had schools step up and, do the food distributions on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and even go around doing food distributions on the normal bus route, to make sure that kids had food. And there are a lot of things that we are not seeing. And so as the country begins to start opening back up, I have my own speculations that we will start seeing more and more cases of child abuse or child neglect, or, you know, people who have lost their jobs, that would never in a million years think about hurting their kid, but maybe, you know, the stress and the pressure, they snapped and, you know, lost control and their kid got hurt. And so that's something that I have, if I'm rambling, I apologize, but that's something that I have picked up too, is that being accosted, like I'm slow to make that judgment. Like now I want to fully assess the situation, look at all the moving parts, look at all the big picture, like what's really going on. Let me dig, let me investigate, you know, was it just, was there a stressor? Was there a trigger? If mom's on drugs, you know, maybe there's something in her childhood that she's trying to suppress through drugs and alcohol, and, you know, her kids got taken away. Like, let's look at the whole big picture before we make that that quick judgment. And so let's see, I completely lost my train of thought. But yeah, so as things and the time begins to ride, like as the country begins to open back up, I personally suspect that there will be a increase in abuse cases. And so it's definitely important for us to get more causes out there, and it's definitely important for the community to come together and, you know, say, hey, this is what's going on. Like, everyone has a responsibility to report child abuse. Like I said, if you see something, say something. Don't think that, you know, it's not my business. Like, you could make a difference in that child's life. Let's see. I feel like I'm rambling. I want to stay on topic. So yeah, I lost my train of thought. So I hope that makes sense. If you're thinking about becoming a CASA, or you know somebody that would be interested in becoming a CASA, I say go for it. Absolutely go for it. Like, you could be that one light in a child's life that makes all the difference in the world. That one person that helps heal the hurt. And it is rewarding in the end, especially when that child comes back and says, you know, hey, because of you, you know, you made all the difference in the world. Or, hey, because of you, you know, I'm a better person today. Or, you know, you saved my life. Or, you know, the possibilities are endless, you know, but as long as you are planting that good seed, you know, then it has a chance to grow. So I love you guys. God loves you. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me. Talk to you soon.